It is our monthly checkup here for the month of March from URMC. We have Dr. Allison Stiles back with us. Glad to see you again. The topic this month are kids in school and school avoidance. How do you define that so everyone can understand exactly what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, when we're talking about school avoidance, we're really talking about when kids are regularly resisting going to school or they're struggling to stay for the full day. So, sometimes this starts off kind of gradual. So, you might notice some increased stress on Sunday nights, maybe some tearful moments in the morning before school, but they're getting to school. Missing the occasional day, but then kind of gradually may grow to spending a lot of time in the nurse's office, maybe skipping school altogether, and then really regularly moving up to a place where they might be missing most days or all days in a week.
Does it start early? Do we see it more with middle schoolers or older, or is it kind of all over?
So we can see it across the age range. It often can pick up around times of transition, so transitioning into middle school, transitioning into high school, or sometimes when there are times of year, so coming back after vacations, coming back after weekends, we see an uptick. And then also sometimes if there's been stressful life events that have happened for kids, so changes in family dynamics, moves, illnesses, things of that nature can sometimes bring it on.
What am I looking for as a parent? Say I have my kindergartner, and she's going that I just don't want to go to school because I'm a kid and don't want to be at school. Versus I don't want to go to school because I'm dealing with something or there's something going on in a classroom or in a hallway or on the playground.
Yeah, that's such a great question. So, I think first of all, starting to look out for a little bit of pattern. So, it's totally normal for kids to have comments about, I don't want to go to school. I want to stay home.
Mhm.
I hate school. And some of that is just normative. But we want to look out for patterns for how much is that coming up, right? How many days in a week are they saying, I really don't want to go to school? And it's important to explore and ask, understand a little bit more about what's going on when they say, I don't want to go to school. We do want to make sure that there isn't something going on like bullying or that there isn't an underlying learning difference that we need to learn more about, making sure that they're getting the right support in school. Um, and so what we want to really make sure if we do start to notice some of those things come up that addressing it early actually can be really helpful. So there are a few things parents can do when they start to notice some warning signs. And warning signs might also be things like kids are talking about having stomach aches or headaches more
Mhm.
often, and maybe they're saying I really don't want to go to school, and so they're delaying getting out the door, they're resisting putting their clothes on. And when you start to notice maybe some of these things really picking up, there are a couple things that can be helpful to do. So the first thing I would say is to reach out to the school team. Reach out and collaborate, make sure that there aren't supports that the school might be able to provide to help with some of the things. Maybe there is a learning difference, or maybe there are some social things going on. Schools can also be great for helping to partner to make sure that kids feel safe and comfortable going
Mhm.
to school and really help with that transition back in. I'd also say it's important to check in with your primary care provider too if they are talking about stomach aches and
Mhm.
headaches and some of those somatic symptoms, and just find out, make sure there's nothing happening from a medical standpoint. And then also, if you're noticing that it's kind of really going on for a while, and we're trying to work with school and we're working with primary care, then it can be great to connect with a mental health professional as well.
Mhm.
And so they might be able to help with teaching some coping skills for that youth to really help them be able to manage maybe what's going on when they're thinking about going to school, but also to create kind of a gradual plan for reentry,
Mhm.
because one of the best ways to tackle anxiety related concerns about school is really to approach those things that are hard and build back up that momentum and that bravery around getting back to school.
Is this something that is getting worse? Is it, more reporting of it? Is it kids during COVID? We did so much remote learning and then it was getting back. And then there's also the phone issue. And yes, we have the phone ban, but online social media bullying, is it in recent years become more of a problem?
Yeah, it's such a great question. So, we have really seen an increase in school avoidance and school anxiety over the last handful of years. And I think it's really a compilation of factors. So, students who were remote during COVID especially those kiddos that maybe tended to be more anxious, it was really comfortable to be home actually. And that transition back to school and being in person was pretty jarring. And for some really built a pattern of avoidance that has been challenging to tackle. We also know that mental health challenges have been increasing for our kids and teens over the last handful of years. And so those things are also contributing to some of this rise in the school avoidance that we're seeing.
And finally, I mean, I was reading stats that 10 to 20% of students can deal with this across the board. If it's not addressed, and maybe it's every time your child goes to the nurse because not feeling well, whatever the story may be, that they're wanting to get out of school. And then it's, if you let it go on, you got to remember they're missing that day of class, especially older, towards test exams, and just the routine, the habit can just get worse too if you don't address it now versus letting it go on for 2, 3, 4 months, half a year.
Yeah. Yes. Sometimes there can be a tendency to feel like, okay, maybe it's a phase, if we just let them kind of go through this, they're going to be able to get back to school. But one of the things we often see is that it does continue to build and become more and more persistent. And so the earlier we can catch it, the better. When you start to notice these patterns of, gosh, every time after a vacation, they're missing a day, or most Mondays they don't get in, but they're there the rest of the week. Those are great times to just start to connect with those professionals we talked about to say, let's get them back to school. Let's make sure we don't deepen that pattern, because it can be so hard to get out of once we've started to move in that direction. And I want to say too that it's not it's not a willful action. For many of these kids, there's really a sense of anxiety and distress around being in school. That makes it really challenging for them, and so we really want to make sure we're giving them that support, because we know they can get back there and we know they can be safe and happy there, but it does take a team sometimes to build that momentum to getting back to school.
It's great advice and insight. Monday, after springing forward, we can kind of do a little bit of a pass with changing the clocks and making it work. Doctor, thank you for sharing that. We'll be catching up in a month or two, and always at rochesterfirst.com.
Thank you so much.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 on demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.